Hello, sixth graders. We are looking at adding and subtracting mixed numbers today. So very similar steps to adding fractions, but now there's a whole number that's involved. So when we're adding mixed numbers that are like fractions, remember that means the denominator is the same. Here are our steps. We add the fractions, we add the whole numbers, and then we simplify. So on our first example here, 3 and 3/7 plus 8 and 1/7. First, if I think this is close to 3.5 plus 8, which would be 11.5. So just keeping an estimate in the back of my mind for each of these, my answer should be around 11.5. So add the fractions first. So 3/7 plus 1/7 would be 4 over 7. Remember, add the numerator, keep the denominator the same. Then you add the whole numbers. So 3 plus 8 is 11. And then see if you can simplify, which in this case I can't. So my answer would be 11 and 4/7, which is close to my estimate that I had there of 11.5. Next one, 10 and 2/3 plus 3 and 2/3. So again, we already have that common denominator. We don't need to change the fractions at all. So we can add the fractions. 2/3 plus 2/3 is 4/3. Add the whole numbers. 10 plus 3 is 13. Now simplify. I can't keep this part as an improper fraction, so I need to turn that into its own mixed number. So 4/3, well, 3 goes into 4 one whole time with 1 left over. Denominator stays as 3. And then we are going to add that onto the 13. So 13 plus 1 is 14 and 1/3. So I'm just rewriting 13 and 4/3 where everything is a proper fraction. And then that's in simplest form. Subtracting mixed numbers with like fractions, same steps, but now subtract the fractions, subtract the whole numbers, and then simplify. So 6 and 5/12 minus 3 and 5/12. Well, 5/12 minus 5/12, we're going to subtract the numerators. 5 minus 5 is 0. Keep the denominator as 12. Subtract the whole numbers. 6 minus 3 is 3. We would not write the answer like that. We would write it as 3. Next one, 4 and 9/11 minus 1 and 5/11, common denominator, so then we can just subtract the numerators. 9 minus 5 is 4. Keep the denominator as 11. And then subtract 4 minus 1, which is 3. And then 4/11 is in simplest form, so this would be our final answer. Now when we're adding mixed numbers with unlike fractions, so again, that means the denominator is different, we just have one extra step, just like with adding and subtracting fractions. We need to get the fractions to have a common denominator, and then we can add everything. So 5 and 1/5 plus 2 and 3/10. I know that I can turn fifths into tenths by multiplying it by 2, and I multiply the top by 2 as well. So then this would be 5 and 2/10 plus 2 and 3/10. Now that I have a common denominator, I can add my fractions. So 2/10 plus 3/10 is 5/10. Oops. And then I add my whole numbers. 5 plus 2 is 7. And then I can simplify by dividing both of these by 5, which would be 7 and 1/2. And then next one here, 8 and 1/2 plus 3 and 4/5. Common denominator for this, I could use 10 by multiplying this side by 5 and multiplying this one by 2. So I'm going to rewrite my fractions. 8 and 5/10 plus 3 and 8/10. Now I can add my fractions. 5/10 plus 8/10 would be 13/10. Add my whole numbers. 8 plus 3 is 11. And again, I can't leave that fraction improper, so I'm going to turn that into a mixed number, which would become 10 goes into 13 one whole time with 3/10 left over. And then I have to remember to add my 11 and my 1 together. My answer is not 1 and 3/10, which hopefully I would realize by looking at my estimate. But 11 plus 1 is 12 and 3/10. And 3/10 is in simplest form. Subtracting mixed numbers with unlike fractions, same thing. Rewrite them with common denominators, and then we can subtract. So 2 and 2/3 minus 1 and 1/4. I know that I can use 12 for my common denominator by multiplying this side by 4 and this side by 3. So then we would have 2 and 8/12 minus 1 and 3/12. Subtract my fractions. 8/12 minus 3/12 is 5/12. 2 minus 1 is 1, and that is in simplest form. Last one, 10 and 1/5 minus 2 and 5/6. My common denominator that I could use for this one will be 30. So I'm going to multiply this side by 6, multiply this side by 5. So then we're going to have 10 and 6 over 30 minus 2 and 25 over 30. Now, if I go to subtract my fractions, 25/30, I can't take that away from 6/30. So what I need to do is regroup. So I'm going to do this kind of fast. We will go through more of these in class. But what we're going to do is we're going to make the whole number 1 less. So I'm going to turn that into 9. And then that 1 that I just took away, I'm going to turn it into a fraction. And since my fractions are 30ths, I'm going to turn it into 30 over 30. That still is equal to the 1 that I took away. And now I can add that onto my 6. So that becomes 9 and 36/30 minus 2 and 25/30. So I'm just rewriting the fraction, regrouping so that now I have enough to subtract with. So now I can subtract. And 36 minus 25 is 11/30. And then subtract the whole numbers. 9 minus 2 is 7. And that's in simplest form. Again, we'll do a lot more like that in class. Make sure to have your notes in class. That's it for adding and subtracting mixed numbers.